And we are live. Welcome, my dear Sherry. How was your holiday? How's things going?
Good. Had an interesting. We traveled for the holiday. What did you guys do?
We stayed home, had our family just like part of our immediate family. So we were short one kiddo, but the rest of like just our family was here for Thanksgiving. And then my husband's side was able to come down, or part of them were able to come down for Saturday. So we had all sorts of family here, which was nice with everything we've got going on in the family, and was able to celebrate. But
So I'm going to ask you a question. We'll just jump right in. Did you have a plan going into Thanksgiving on food, what you were going to do, your non-negotiables, things like that? What did you plan ahead of time going in?
so I still do have some things that are set, like you said, my non-negotiables. I still was able to get up, do my morning grounding, my cold exposure. I mean, we ended up with technically our first snowfall this weekend, and I still am that person, that will go outside and put my feet to the ground. I know I had a lot of people on my Instagram commenting, because it's 18 degrees and it's snowing, and there I am in, my tank top and
Yep.
barefoot on the ground. But that's me. I'll do it all winter long. So I was still able to be pretty consistent with my routine. Now I knew, like you said, plan going into it, right? I
Yep.
knew going into the holiday that I would have more of the seasonal vegetables, that I wouldn't necessarily be just carnivore. I would have those seasonal vegetables, and I did. I ended up Thursday I made the family some chicken, cream chicken over taters, and I cooked up some other root vegetables. As far as what I was eating that day, it was very filling. I didn't have any down downside effect of consuming those local seasonal vegetables. So that was kind of what we planned on Thursday, and then the actual for us holiday was on Saturday with the full turkey and ham and all of that type of stuff. So yeah, I at since I was the host, I knew, I planned not only my food. Now, there was other foods that I didn't consume, but I also, had like my root vegetables. I, instead of using stuffing for the turkey that I cooked on Saturday, I put my root vegetables that I had roasted in there, as so it had the carrots, the turnips, the parsnip in there, um, some seasonings, some herbs and stuff in there. And that was kind of what I stuffed my bird with, was those roasted vegetables. And it turned out really well. And I was talking to you earlier today, and I'm like, I made this broth, and it's very dark, golden, very delicious, I guess. So I'll be, consuming that now, because none of the bird, right, that I or birds, I should say, that we cooked went to waste. We ate the bird, I saved the bones, and I made it into a broth. So that's just kind of how we did it. But I know you said that you had traveled. Did you kind of have to plan out your meals, or did you stay more like carnivore with traveling?
I did. We went up to friends in North Texas area, Dallas area, and they know that I'm carnivore. So we had planned the week before to go ahead and just go out to eat. So we went to a Brazilian restaurant, basically because I'm carnivore. And that's what I can have is meat. And if you've ever been to a Brazilian restaurant, they walk around with meat on skewers and you consume meat. Now you can go to the salad bar area, and I obviously don't, but it worked out good. But again, before I traveled, I prepped. So knowing that I would need breakfast, I went ahead and made my high fat carnivore. I've been making them instead of pancakes and waffles, I've been making them into muffins. So I had that ready to go with me. I took Power Pucks, and if anybody out there is listening, we had the owners of the Power Puck company on, Matt and Allison, a couple months ago. And I definitely, well, actually, both of us do utilize the Power Pucks because they're protein and fat. And I specifically eat the tallow based ones. I think you do too, don't you?
Mhm. I will utilize both, but yeah, I tend to gravitate towards the tallow ones.
Yeah. So I took those with me. My carnivore high fat muffins, which basically it's fat and it's egg yolks. And I add, some flavorings in it like, salt, pepper, I vary it a little bit here and there. Sometimes I'll add bacon, sometimes I don't. So I took that with me. So I was prepared. And then, and I should preference our friends in Dallas consist of my friend and his son. So I was the only female. My husband
Navigating the
and
male world.
yeah, I was in a male world there. So um, I wasn't planning on spending any time in the kitchen for them. So we ate out the entire time. Now, I only ate one meal to two meals a day. That was it. So I did eat within my eating window, or, you know,
Mhm.
so we were able to do that. But I mean, we went to a really neat restaurant. It was a German restaurant. And I had posted pictures of it on my Instagram. And I had pork chops and sausage, and verified with them that there was no, uh, it was gluten free, basically the brats, the sausage, and it came with sauerkraut and German potato salad, and of course, I told them to hold that. Just because I'm in a different metabolic state than what you are, you probably would have at least had the sauerkraut, where my body that's a no-go right now. So I think that's one of the things we talk about the most is everybody's at a different
Mhm.
journey, um, and so forth. So yeah, I mean, it was just we made sure that wherever we went, we did go to a Mexican restaurant. I think that's just a give me in Texas, and I had shrimp. I mean, it's it was always when I first got started down this road, it was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't eat this. Like, what am I gonna eat?" And I realized you can tell them, waiters and waitresses how you want things cooked, what you want, what you don't want. If we go for chicken wings, it always cracks me up. It's like, "Okay, and you want ranch and ranch blue cheese, celery, carrots, fries," and it's like, "No, no, no, no." It's just
Mhm.
it's funny, but, so yeah, so we did, and a lot of eating out, so thank goodness we're back home and we are, back to cooking. But that was kind of my holiday. I didn't veer off. I didn't I mean, they my godson is 15. Of course, he's sitting there eating dessert each time and stuff, and now he's making fun of me for the way I order at this point. So,
Yeah.
but he's watching, and I know he's watching. And so, yeah, it was kind of a fun little getaway. We needed it. But it's always present, at least in my mind, on how I'm going to eat. Uh, And we just go accordingly at this point.
But I think that's the biggest thing, right? Is you don't have to feel excluded. You don't
Mhm.
have to feel restricted because you can go out and find just the meat. Um, which, and I did forget to mention, we went shopping on Friday. My husband and I and our youngest all went shopping, and we did eat one meal out of the weekend out. And I just, like you said, I had meat. It was, skewers that had chicken and salmon and steak, and they were wrapped in bacon. And um, I did have the seasonal vegetables, which was like grilled squash and zucchini and that type of stuff, but they weren't really cooked, so I didn't eat them. Yeah, they were kind of raw, so pretty crisp, but that was fine. There was enough there that I was perfectly content. But I think that's the biggest thing, is being content with it, not
Mhm.
over stressing, knowing that you do have options.
Mhm.
That the option doesn't have to be, completely out in left field
Right.
and, veer completely off just because someone else is maybe eating that way, that's, in your party or whatever, that you can still be consistent.
Yeah. I think that's the big thing too is the people in our party, right? Don't eat like I eat. And it doesn't bother me. I don't feel deprived. Um, I know his dad, our friend, he said, well, we were sitting there watching TV one night and he said, do you want popcorn? And I said, no, I can't have popcorn. And I said, wait, I can have popcorn. I'm choosing not to have popcorn. And I didn't, he was like, oh, okay, no problem. But it was cute because I even caught myself, oh, I can't. And it's like, no, I can. But it's that mindset and changing that around.
Yeah, that I'm choosing not to.
Mhm.
You're making a choice for your health. And like you said, yes, was I probably a little bit more open as to what I had, but if anyone's seen my interview or has listened to us talk, I mean, for anyone that is listening now, if you have questions for either of us, feel free to put them in the chat. But I'm able to be a little bit more open now than what I was, 3-4 years ago,
Mhm.
with what I'm able to do, reversing my health issues, and we're each at a different step, and that's okay.
Right.
That is the beauty of our community too, is we support people each step of the way.
Right. Right. Well, and I mean, I took my copper water bottle, and we've talked about this. We each have one. And I took that with me. So I was definitely still getting that. I took my Sheila, how do you say it?
Sheila G.
Sheila G. I took that with me. I was so again, things were I had things ready to go. I took my salt, my sodium that I have every day in my water as well. So it's just kind of how I roll at this point. Um, I now going into the holidays, now that we just passed Thanksgiving, there's parties going on. There's, we've got Christmas, we've got New Year's coming up. And, we've kind of talked about this off camera on how people should approach this time of year, right?
Well, I was gonna say, you have a master class that's coming up. Um, comment in the chat and up and said, I take my salt everywhere. Yes, it is from one of our coaches, and we 100% agree with you. Um, and for the longest time, I had one of the Redmond's Real Salt, the little shakers, in my purse. But now, I mean, I do have things in my purse that I take with me, but I don't typically, other than like the Power Puck. Although we are gravitating into wrestling season. So if anyone, has heard me and my story of when my son was in wrestling, we would end up and go to wrestling meets all day long. And of course now it's um my daughter's boyfriend that's in wrestling, and so we'll go and we'll watch, and I still, go to that. But being prepared, I think, is the biggest thing. Um but as far as the things that we take, it doesn't have to be, a full suitcase of things you're taking. We're talking just small, aspects to make it easier
Yeah.
or, manageable, I should say. But yeah, speaking of managing, that's where I was going, is you have a masterclass that's coming up on the 1st of December, Friday. Wow, man, time flies.
Right.
Um, you have a masterclass coming up that is managing the stress for the holidays and helping people navigate that. And part of that's also in the community. We've talked about the accountability side and having, the support during this
Right.
time, because it's not, oh, I'll just do it, starting in January. Your day and your journey needs to start, your one day needs to turn into today is day one. And that's where we can end up and help you manage the holidays.
Right. Well, I was going to try and get the link here, but my mouse is not working right here. I'll let you get the link for the masterclass. So right now, normally I priced this. I worked on this for weeks and weeks, and it's called Stress Management: Getting Through the Holidays, and it's kind of a deal actually. So participants are going to learn how to handle that stress, coping strategies, things that can be used uh, going into like the parties, and what happens when you're around people that are challenging, how to deal with that. Um, and in addition to getting the master class, you've got we're going to have an additional Q&A on the 15th. So you can come back and see, a check-in, like what questions do you have? I've got a little bit of homework, nothing major. Don't like, no, more homework for the holiday. No, it's coping strategies that I'm going to have people kind of just work at a time, and we can come together on the 15th and any questions and talk about the stresses and maybe strategies that literally right before Christmas and New Year. But when you sign up, you're also going to get a month free of the BNC community. And that's huge in itself. That's a $18 value a month. And then I'm also giving away for new people that sign up a 30-minute coaching call. So kind of to go hand in hand with it, it's to be used in the month of December. And just some more accountability. Accountability is huge. And I know we talked about that today, about accountability. I know that was one of your major tips today. So, so you get all that. The price I had set for it was $87. And then you and I talked about it, and it's like, we really want people to utilize this and manage that stress. So I discounted it $40. So it's literally only $40. So if you use the link
47.
or 47, what did I say, 40?
Yeah.
47, sorry. If you use the link in the chat, you can sign up. Now, midnight tonight, it's going to go back up to the $87. So if you use code HOLIDAY when you're checking out, that will give you that $40 off and making it only $47 for the masterclass, the Q&A session, the 1 month free membership of the BNC and a 30-minute coaching call. So really we're giving we're giving it away kind of. But I always find that when people put skin in the game, the accountability is better. I could offer this completely free, but I always look at it this way, if I have to pay a couple dollars, it has my attention. Now I'm going to do it. It's another accountability. It's really what that is. So anyway, that's kind of I'm excited about it, but anyway.
Yeah, the information that you have put into it, um, even if they just go to the main page, it is on like listed with all the other programs right below the BNC community. But it's listed there, and the session itself is going to end up being an amazing masterclass. And then you have the giving that you gave after, as far as the Q&A and a coaching session. And I mean, the community alone has 10 support meetings per week, that the two of us plus our other team of coaches go through and do. So we've got you covered each week going through the holidays, on that aspect of support and right-minded people that are, not going to say, oh, one bite's not going to hurt. So.
Yeah. I mean, and that's obviously, if you can manage the one bite, then I say, okay. However, we have Coach Sly who does addiction classes, and I've learned a lot from her. And I say this every time I talk about Coach Sly. I went into the first meeting with her, group meeting on our BNC community, and I thought, well, I don't have an addiction, right? I wasn't addicted to alcohol or drugs or prescription drugs, or that's where my mind went. And when I got in there, it was like, oh, I'm addicted to food. And it makes sense because I wouldn't be where I am. Well, not today, but before I started, very unhealthy. I was the person that said, oh, I can't give up my coffee. Oh, I can't give up cheese. Oh, I can't, right. Quest chips. I can't,
Well, and I can't tell you how many times I've used, or, also told even our members in the community, the HALT. How many times has she spoken in regards of the HALT, especially in people with mindless eating and that addiction side? Are you actually hungry, angry, lonely, or tired? Hopefully I got those right. But yeah, utilizing that, because we tend, and that's the other thing with the holidays, to bring that back around as we're gravitating through these holidays, is many of the gatherings revolve around food. And when we can be mindful and when we can be present and not eat out of, those 4 basic emotions essentially, and keep our stress in check, then we're able to end up and navigate it and be more present in the conversations than we are in the food that's surrounding us.
Right. My sister is in the hospital right now, and she posted a picture of the tray of food she got. And, I wouldn't touch it, and I told her, I said, eat the meat, don't eat any condiments, don't eat any, basically what you need is an elimination diet right now to help with the inflammation, reason that she's in the hospital. And I wish more people would recognize that the foods that you're consuming or they're feeding us, right, in a hospital is kind of contributing to those issues.
Hmm. Yep. But until we get more voices and
Mhm.
more people sharing the message of, their stories, and that's where we really try to make this to the point where we're relatable people. We're not up here preaching one method over the other, right? We are just real people who have gone through this,
Right.
or I should say, going through this, right? We're
Yeah.
never at an end journey. And I think that's the difference in when we make this a lifestyle versus when we end up and we, look for that next quick fix, look for that next quick diet. Um, and when that mindset shift changes into this is my life, this is the way I'm going to end up and do, probably the rest of my life. Will certain aspects change of, the nutrition? Sure. I've gone from, that's why I hate labels. I've gone from, carnivore into keto, into even paleo, with incorporating some of those root vegetables. But it's a proper for me diet. Whether you want to end up and call it human or whatever, it's proper for me. Doesn't mean that you could do it or any of our viewers could end up and do it, right? It's what works. And that's what each person has to end up and figure out is what is going to work for you and allowing us to help you figure that out.
Right. Well, and I think the big thing too is being the reason, I mean, the reason we celebrate holidays, besides your own personal religious aspect, but is really about spending time with those that you are, your family, your friends, and it's focusing in on that because unfortunately we have everything surrounds food, you know. Um, I've seen this going on the social medias where, you know, Halloween is the candy, you know, Thanksgiving is pies. Christmas is, and rounding it up with New Year's is booze, right? So if you look at all that in that aspect, it's like, oh my goodness, nowhere in that is being present with your family and spending time with them and things like that. And so, anyway, I hope you get signed up before midnight tonight so you can get the deal. But Becky, I wanted to ask you, so you and I even commented on your social media. You were out there barefoot in the snow, girl.
I was. Yep. Grounding and cold exposure. So, I look at not only things on a 24-hour cycle as far as what I do, how we live in the environment around us. It's not just on a 24-hour cycle, but it's on the infradian system, right? So it's on the seasonal aspect and how we end up and utilize our day or structure our day as far as the world around us. I'm not going to end up and do certain things in the summertime that I'm going to end up and do in the winter. Yes, there are those consistencies, such as the grounding, but you won't necessarily see me, other than the occasional, cold shower or something, doing ice baths, ice immersions, these single digit temperatures, or even low teen temperature, ice baths in the wintertime or in the summertime. I use more of the heat, the sweat, the sauna. So that was one of the things, and I think I posted it on today's. Um, the yin and the yang, right? We need that balance, and some people find that hormetic balance to these stressors in a different pattern than what I do. I use it on a seasonal. Same thing with food. What I eat in the summertime is not going to end up and be the same as what I eat in the wintertime. there's just aspects where when I do it now, like I said, the cold exposure, I utilize grounding year round, but when it comes to the cold exposure, acclimating as the changing of the seasons, and I'll be going into my 4th year this next year. When I'm outside doing it now in, barefoot tank top is not the way I started 4 years ago.
Right.
And that's the biggest thing that, people need to realize with cold exposure. Taking it slow, just simply, I know one of our other coaches in the community utilizes it too, and she was out there walking. We just, I think, happened to get snow before she did, which is really weird based on her location, but she was out there. I give her, kudos for being out there and getting that burst of cold and walking, because it really does invigorate you. It does wake you up and just really start the day on, a whole different level as far as the benefit of it. But I mean, it does help. Knock on wood, I have yet to be sick. So the things that, I gain is boosting that immune system. You also, with cold exposure, get benefit of creating an infrared energy, which also helps with the metabolism aspect. So activating that brown fat also, uncoupling it and making it usable, or the white fat into brown fat, is what I should have said. Making the fat cells into usable fat. It does help with sleep, honestly. So when we have this cold exposure, so I didn't just, instantly, like people in the ice baths that are jumping into it, super, super cold. We went from summer, to 70s, and then it was like down to 50s. And then, we kind of did this roller coaster effect with our temperatures. And of course, now we're, down in 18, 19, somewhere in there. And then we'll raise up again, but it's following the seasons, and it does help also with preventing seasonal affects. So it helps with boosting the mood too.
Right. And all these things that Becky and I are talking about is the beyond the nutrition. And it has made such a huge difference for both of us. I mean, we're personal, this is our testament to going beyond. I couldn't lose weight. My blood sugars were getting worse, not better. Things were going the wrong way, and I was doing keto. And it wasn't until I started incorporating the Beyonds that uh, things have finally started turning around. One of them being fat fasting. And I'm going to shamelessly plug your interview with Dr. Sean Baker. And what did they call you? The fat
High fat queen.
high
Um,
fat?
yeah. So full disclosure, 4 years ago, several people that are now coaches in our community would actually call me that for the longest time, and they're great friends, so it was one of those things that we always joked about, and commented in the aspect that I want, my crown, and I want this, and because I do consume a lot of fat, and I speak about it. I talk about the higher fat side of things. I live the high, I post my meals. But when I did that interview, I never thought the amount of people that have watched it and viewed it needed to hear it.
Yeah.
Because that video is one of the highest viewed videos in the last 60 days that Sean has done. And to me, that goes to show the fact of how many people needed to hear the story and how to heal themselves that are looking for ways um, that they haven't been able to find, right?
Yeah. Well, I was looking it up because I'm going to post that in here, Becky.
As I say, I have
Um,
it if you don't.
you have it? Go ahead. So I'm looking and it's at 14,000 views. And
Almost 15.
again,
It's 14,911.
there you go. There you go. Um, I mean, you talk about your uh, uh, kind of your challenges that you went through, what happened to your body, and what led you to go down this road. Um, and it give it's a good listen. I've listened to it a couple times, and definitely when you talk about the higher fat, that was the thing that my body went, yes, this is what you needed. And so that was the turning point for me. Also, of course, the earthing, I
Mhm.
ground. So I sat here with the this little thing I wear on my leg or my arm, and I plug in, and I'm into my outlet, and I'm actually grounding when I'm sitting at the computer. I use my blockers. I use the red light. I eat within 30 minutes to an hour of getting up. But we had a special guest on here a couple weeks ago now, Dr. Paul.
Mhm.
And I'm going to let you talk about Dr. Paul, and then I'm going to show you what I got.
Yes. So Dr. Paul is a great friend. I've known Dr. Paul for a couple years now. Virtually, I guess I should say. Just met him about a month ago when I was at Salt Lake. He's got an amazing family, wife, kids. Um, but he really changed my perspective as far as water goes. So he was kind of my gateway into looking at water beyond just, a liquid in a cup. Um, and that was the hydrogen enriched water that I looked at. Um, which I know is the product that you are going to end up and go into. So I don't know how much you want me to go into the hydrogen water, but and what's around it, but
Go ahead.
uh,
I'll keep talking, and I'll show him my hydrogen water bottle here.
yeah. So hydrogen water has been around, or hydrogen therapy has been around for several years. It's nothing new. We do have the complete full interview with Dr. Paul in the BNC community, but it does deliver that powerful antioxidants. There's 1,250 studies to date that we have compiled into a website that you can go and search and find a study based on what you are looking to optimize with it. And that can be anything from cellular health to focus to longevity, diabetes. It can help with energy, immune system, um, brain health, brain trauma, that cognitive function, as far as also the mental clarity, stress and inflammation too. So there's even a lot of celebrities that are using it. So one of the things, like Zac Efron and um, other, I can't think of his name. He's a professional tennis player, but and then I had said, that I had met Dr. Paul for the first time when I went to Salt Lake, and that was Dr. Pompa's event, the Live It to Lead It conference. And like I said, that's where I first met Dr. Paul. So
Yeah, I went ahead and put in the chat. We've got the link to the echo to go.com. However, I also put in the link, the code to use to get 20% off. And that's what I used, was that code to get mine. I got this Saturday, so I wasn't home. And I literally just started using it yesterday. And I mean, I've had 2 of these today, and I'm really excited about the benefits. In fact, Becky and I are gonna start tracking. I'm gonna start tracking as I'm drinking this, and we can report back to everyone what exactly it's gonna do for my body, because I'm still working on getting healthy here. So
Absolutely. Yeah. And like I said, there's several studies. If anyone has questions in regards to the hydrogen water, um, they can feel free to reach out. I'm happy to answer questions. You have the white Echo Go. I've got the Echo Go Plus. They also make whole house systems. Um, so they make it for really kind of anyone. The Goes are beneficial for traveling. Like I said, when I went to Salt Lake, I took mine with me. Um, and it does help also on the diabetes aspect. That was one of the things that I first just used nutrition for, but really helping to regulate the heart disease and the diabetes and stuff with just the inclusion of hydrogen water, right? We all end up when we drink water, so why not just change the structure of that water and be able to consume a healthier, beneficial water?
absolutely. So it's stacking practices. It's healing the body. Do
Yep.
you like how I fed that in there?
Mm,
Healing the whole body. It's healing the body. Um, one
yep.
step at a time, really, is what we're doing. And it's proving to be a game changer. It breaks my heart, in all honesty, to see folks out there struggling with trying to get 1 gram of protein per ideal body weight. And that they're fighting a battle that, if they would just maybe add in more fat and just kind of bring that protein level down to adequate, it might be enough for them. But it just breaks my heart. Poor Becky and I just talk about this all the time. We see people just so frustrated out on social media, and we just want to help them. And I know when the light bulb, what did Coach Sly say in our she loves it when the light bulbs, oh, I love,
Come on.
yeah, the lights come on, right? And that's what it is. I mean, I'll be honest, I heard Becky talking about, earthing, grounding, red light, blue blockers. It's been well over a year now.
Hmm.
And every time, and I was in another group with her, and every time we would get on these Zoom calls, it would be like we would pull her into the conversation to have again. She would repeat herself over and over. And what was funny is even though she repeated it and I heard it, the light bulb only went off on certain things at a time. And it was like my mind was ready to absorb that one, and so forth. And thank you for your patience with that, because I was definitely one of those, like, I wanted to get it, but I had to understand
Hmm.
the whys behind it. And I think that's why it was like such a slow process for me to get going on it, was because I truly wanted to understand, well, what is this doing for my body? I seen you had a question on Instagram today about how often you do cold exposure.
Yeah. How often? What was it? How often and how long?
Mhm.
Um, and so that's where it really ends up, and it depends on the day of the week, the time of the day, and the temperature. I try for 5 minutes. Um, But if I can end up and get more, then I'm going to end up and get more, because there are so many hormones that we don't give enough accountability to as far as our body's regulation, right?
Right.
Um, and that's also where many people don't look either, right? Of our bodies are energy beings that end up and need the light. That is one of the biggest things I see in people, that are trying to lose weight, or people that are, um, trying to shift their day even, and they start to do some extreme, aspect, instead of just really looking at the circadian side. Now, yes, it is more than just the circadian. It is more than just the nutrition, right? This is why we go beyond in all of these aspects. But if people honestly, I would say probably, three of the biggest things I see um, are the way people wake up in the morning, not
Yeah.
getting out and getting that natural light, not getting that, first light, and it creates this dysfunction in regards of their cortisol and their leptin. And people are leptin resistant before they are ever insulin resistant. So the other that I would say is something that you alluded to, of eating within 30 minutes to an hour of being up. Many people are still in the fasting world where they're fasting through the morning, they're skipping breakfast,
Mhm.
or eating a breakfast that is really causing, this blood sugar roller coaster, right? They're skyrocketing that blood sugar, which is a recipe for disaster later in the day. The other one that many people don't like me for is shifting their coffee. Not
Ugh.
having the fatty bulletproof coffees first thing in the morning, and shifting that even, 90 minutes after a first meal. I don't take it away completely, but just shifting it and the pushback that I get from that.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, those I would say are three of the biggest things. They're not connected, doing the grounding in the morning. They're on screens versus, natural light, and then their breakfast and their coffee timing. And yeah, it's essentially just a recipe for disaster
Sure.
that needs to be.
Sure. And had I not worn a CGM, which is a continuing glucose monitor, I would have never known that coffee caused my blood sugar to go up.
Hmm.
And so I was waking up and could literally watch my blood sugar just climb. And it would keep climbing. And we're talking 60, 70 points until like noon, 1 o'clock. And I was fasting. I was trying everything. But had I not been wearing it, I would have never figured out that coffee was causing my blood sugar to go up. And the question I get is, well, does that mean it causes your blood sugar to increase? And go ahead and answer that question, Becky.
For some it does, but also the cortisol aspect, and that's where when our body is shifting the hormones um, improperly, and we essentially, again, I kind of go back to the energy aspect. When we are consuming the coffee, when it raises um, the adrenal hormones, it start all of our hormones are on this cascade, and when we swing it too far one way or the other, we lose energy, and we can have excess energy on our body, aka fat cells. um, but our problem isn't necessarily in that fat, it is in the energy aspects of our body. And so when we create this dysfunction in our body, in how the light is signaling it also, because again, these are circadian hormones. And so when the light signals our body the wrong way, and it surges that cortisol even higher, and then you're putting coffee in there, and then you're working out, and then, yada, yada, yada. you're going to gain weight without even trying. And I've seen it a lot in the carnivore spaces, especially, where someone will gain weight, and we essentially tell them, that they're simply losing energy. They have poor mitochondrial health. They're just really, their environment is more of the aspect. And that's kind of where the Beyond Nutrition comes in, right? We have to go beyond that and figure out why this person has this excess energy. And it happens in skinny people and it happens in overweight people. You can be eating, a diet, but like I said, that's only part of the equation. So doing the deep dive into the Beyond the Nutrition.
Yeah, definitely. It's funny because this is going to be real authentic and so off topic, but my body composition has changed because of all the things that I've incorporated. And as we're talking, I can see myself as we're talking, and I'm looking and I'm like, in my head, I'm thinking, when did this happen? Like, this has changed. This is not, I don't look swelled like I used to. When did that happen? When did, like my neck, like when did this start happening? Because I'm looking at that person now and I don't recognize her because my mind still thinks that she's the 275-pound person prior to all of this. So mindset is another huge factor, but it's just, and I know you kind of catch yourself too sometimes like, whoa, whoa, who's that?
Well, and even this morning when I got up, right, I get dressed in red light and I put a pink tank top on to go out and do, my morning grounding, and it was, hanging a bit lower than what I cared for it to. And I'm like, okay, it's time for a smaller tank top, right? The straps, and it's all stretched to the point where I need something different, or I need to simply just wear it for like bedtime. Um, but that is, I would say, probably the hardest part is that mindset of not seeing the true person. And that's where I encourage, my clients to take those pictures, take those measurements, because when we see ourselves in the mirror every day, or we see it in the reflection of the computer or the window or whatever the case may be, we don't see that gradual progression until we start to reflect it back. Like I said, I'm not near where I was, a year ago. And that's the biggest thing, is continuing to make that progress forward. Let alone, 4 years ago when I started. And so, yeah, there's times where I still see that person, but there's also times where I see the new person.
Right. And that's neat because we address these type of things in the BNC community with our other members and stuff. And that's what I like about the authenticity of the group is, I host a supercharge your mindset on Fridays. And that's the safe place. That is the only meeting that we have that is not recorded. We did that by design because we want members to be able to come in and get your mind charged, right? And so we talk about things that are going on, family issues, children issues, our own issues, what we're battling, things like that. And so the accountability far and wide is each one of the coaches bring such a unique perspective that I love the team that we've built. And I say we, it's really Becky, but
It
I'm
takes
a
all
part
of
of it.
us.
Right, it's all of us. It takes this team to do that, and, it's just a neat it's a different community if you've ever been in other communities that I always call it the Weight Watchers community, right? Like,
Mhm.
tell me the points. What food can I eat? Oh, can I eat that? No. And this is like a whole different level of support and things that we get deep down. I mean, um, we have Coach Kevin who does the breath work, and I've been going through some high stress situations, which I will at some point tell everyone kind of what's going on. But because of this high stress situation that I'm going back and I'm utilizing the breath work to help manage the stress as well. So, uh, had we not had Kevin, I don't know where I would be.
Mhm.
But,
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely. It takes all of us, and for anyone listening to the replay, definitely come check us out. You can find us at bncommunity.com. Let me see. I think I even have a banner here. Let's show our little fancy dancy little banner here. But yeah, join us at the BNC community, and we would be more than happy to welcome you to the BNC family.
absolutely. Well, Becky, this was kind of fun getting caught up and talking about at least our situations on how we handled Thanksgiving and kind of what we're doing in our journey. And hopefully everyone has learned something. Don't forget, you guys, to subscribe. So when we're going live. We go live every Monday evening at 7 p.m. Central Time. We have some guests in the works and some celebrations that we're going to do. So we're always thinking and doing on what we can add to this podcast that we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So awesome, everyone. Well, like she said, click subscribe. We will see you back here next Monday. And who knows, we may even have a um, guest with us, but you'll have to click subscribe so that you can end up and see.